In this tutorial, I want to go through some of the basic settings of your WordPress blog and how you can go in and set up some default configuration settings to make your blog work a little bit more the way you want it to work instead of just the way that it works by default maybe. So once you have your blog installed, log into the admin area. And now in the admin area, if you look on the left, there are essentially two categories of items on the left, what I like to call two categories underneath your dashboard. And this is your dashboard. When you log into the admin area, the first thing that you always see is your dashboard. Your dashboard just provides you some summary information about your blog, links out to other things on the internet about WordPress and so forth. And then on the left are the menus for what I call two categories of items. The first set here that has post, media, links, pages, comments, and then the second set that has appearance, plugins, users, tools, and settings. And there may be some other things on yours depending upon the different plugins and things that you've installed, but these are the default items. This first category of items I like to call your content. This is where you come in and you post your information in your post, your images in the media area, your hyperlinks out to websites, pages that you create, and comments. So this is all the content. This is really the meat and potatoes of your WordPress blog. This is where you will do most of your work here in posting items and creating pages and links and moderating comments and so forth. But the second set of items down here is what I like to call management type things and configuration type things. You come in here every now and then to change the appearance, maybe a theme on your blog, to install and activate and update plugins, to manage users and change some of the default settings. So this is what we want to look at here, some of the management and configuration type items. So the first thing let's look at, we'll start at the bottom and go up. Let's look at the settings area. When you click the drop down by settings, you'll notice that there are several sub-menus or sub-items. If I were to click on settings itself, it takes me to that first sub-menu, which is the general settings of the blog on the right here. So under general settings, if you look, it shows you the blog title, and that's the title you set up when you first created your blog. Mine was called My WordPress Blog. And the tagline, just another WordPress web blog. If you look on the front of your blog, depending upon the theme that you have, that title will show on the header and the tagline will show underneath the title. So to change that, it's just a simple matter of going into Settings General and change it to whatever you want. I could change it here. This is great as a tagline, and change the title whatever I want to at any time here. When you change something, you just always need to go to the bottom and click Save Changes. That's usually where the Save Changes button will be, is at the bottom. And then go back out and look at your blog, and now the tagline is changed. Now some other things here, the web blog address, the WordPress address and blog address, don't ever change these unless you are moving your blog, physically moving your blog from one web address to another or one server or another. Don't change these. You'll break your blog if you do. So just leave those settings the way they are. And in a future tutorial I'll talk about, when I talk about moving a blog from one host to another, or moving a blog from a subdirectory to root or vice versa, then you would come change these. But that's about the only time. Your admin email address here. Membership on your blog. Do you want to allow others to register on your blog or not? Here, anyone can register is unchecked. If I were to check that and scroll down and click Save Changes, then out on the front of your blog, if it's in your theme that you're using, when I'm going to log out here, when someone comes to your blog and looks on the front, there will be a register link. So they could click on that register link and they could register themselves, sign up here for an account on your blog. And then with those accounts, you can go in under user management and give people who are registered various types of permissions on your blog to do certain things. And that's beyond this tutorial, but that's what that setting controls, is whether you want to allow people to register with a username and password to be able to log into your blog. I'm logging back in here as the admin so we can go back and look at some more settings. If you don't want people to register, then just uncheck it. If you allow people to register, then you can select the default role that they have on the blog when they register. If you click a drop down, there are several roles here. Now you can go to WordPress.org and go to the documentation section and look at those various roles and what people can do when they have those roles. Let me just briefly go there. In WordPress.org, if you go to the Docs area, and then the easiest way to find this information is just to go up to the search the codex and type in roles and hit enter. And then the first thing that comes back is roles and capabilities. Click on it. And this will provide you all the information you ever wanted to know about what those roles are allowed to do and so forth. So scroll through here and read through the author, the contributor, the editor, the admin, the subscriber role, and so forth to see what those are. But what that does is that tells you what these user roles will be allowed to do if you allow people to create accounts on your site and they have a certain role. And then you can go in with people who have created those accounts and manage your users here under the user tabs. So you may set up the default user role to be subscriber for everyone that creates an account, which gives them very limited ability. They can't do anything really other than just edit their profile. Then you could come in here to your users once they've created, and you could make certain users editors or administrators or authors or so forth. But you can look through that. And then just some other basic stuff here with time zones and date and time formats and the weekday starts and so forth. So under general settings, change whatever you want, save changes, and that's done. Now let's go to the writing tab now. And under writing, there are several things you can do here. The size of the post box is 10 lines. If you've noticed when we've been writing post in the other tutorials, I'll just click here and we'll go to add a new post to see what that 10 lines does for us there. What that setting of 10 lines does is that it determines how high your initial writing area is here. Okay, we have 10 lines of writing area. So if I were to go back there to the writing tab, and if we change that 10 lines to 30 lines, for example, then that's just going to change the initial height of that writing area. And I do this on my blogs. I normally increase that to 20 or 30 just to give me more sort of room to see the text that I'm editing there. And then if we were to go back to add a new post with 30 lines of height for the post box size, then you can see how it's changed that. So it just allows you to see more of what you're writing. Some people like more, some people don't. So it just depends on your preferences. That's why we call it sort of the default settings area. Formatting here, these are pretty self-explanatory. Do you want it to convert these emoticons to images or not? Default post category. Remember, if you watched an earlier tutorial, I created a category called popular websites. All this does is determine what the default post category is if you don't change it. Default category link or link category. Blog role is the default. If you create other link categories for links, then you can check the default one here. Whether you want to enable remote publishing from other clients or not, and whether you want to enable email publishing to be able to publish via email. Now, talking about how to set up these remote publishing and email clients is a little beyond this tutorial. But for example, if you wanted to use XML RPC publishing, which would allow you, as one example, if you have Microsoft Word 2007, you can actually post to your blog from within Word. To be able to do that, you would need to come in here and enable XML RPC. Let's look at reading. Reading, do you want your front page to show your latest post, or do you want to have a static front page? And I'm going to do a future tutorial to show you how to create a static front page on your blog. But you would just come in here and change the settings here. Most people are going to want latest post on the front page. How many posts do you want to show by default on your front page at any given time? And the default is 10. If you wanted to only show the latest 5 posts, you can change it here, or 20, or whatever you want. And then some other default settings here. Leave the UTF-8 here. That's recommended, and there's no reason for you to actually change that. Discussion. And again, I'm not going to read every one of these. Most of them are self-explanatory, but I'll just hit some highlights. Discussion settings. some default settings here as to whether you want to allow trackbacks and pingbacks. Some settings here for commenting, how you want to set up commenting on your blog. Do you want users to have to fill out their username and email or not, check or unchecked? Do you want to restrict commenting to just registered users? If you've allowed users to register and set up an account, then you could set it up so that only the people who are registered and who have an account and who are logged in can comment, and so forth. So read through these settings. There are lots of good settings here for controlling who can comment and when those comments can appear. You could come here, for example, and say that anyone could comment, but I want to have an administrator have to approve the comments before they appear on the front of the blog. So check out your comment moderation type settings and whether you get email notifications of them and so forth. You can come in here and add in some words here that would automatically cause a comment to be held in moderation regardless of your settings. You can set some backlisted URLs and email addresses and so forth, and then whether you want to use avatars for people who comment on the blog or not. Media, you can set up some default settings for your media. The default setting for thumbnails, if you watched some other tutorials, you noticed that the thumbnails for images was 150 by 150, and the default for your medium and large images, you can change those. Privacy, do you want your blog to be visible through search engines or not? Here. You can change your permalink structure here on permalinks. And the default permalink structure just shows with this style, or you can do it by day and name, month, numeric, or you can set up a custom structure here. Again, talking about how to set up all these permalinks is a little beyond the scope of this tutorial. I'm just showing you where it is, but if you want to learn more about setting up custom permalinks, then go back to the WordPress.org to the documentation, search on permalinks, and there's lots of good documentation there that talks you through permalinks and how to set them up if you want to change the structure. And then everything has a miscellaneous. So if you look at miscellaneous settings, then there are a few other things here that you could change. You probably don't want to change the upload path for your files, and this here just determines where any images or documents or things that you upload. In WordPress, most everything that you type into WordPress, or I should say everything that you type into WordPress, post pages, your content and so forth, is stored in a database. But any files that you upload, such as pictures and images, Word documents, PDF files, videos, whatever it happens to be that you happen to upload into WordPress, that's going to be stored in an uploads directory in your WordPress content folder. So this here just determines the path to that directory. By default, it's set WP content/uploads. I would leave it at that. I wouldn't change it. And then, unless you know what you're doing, I would leave these other things by default and just not change those. So that pretty much does it with settings, and we'll look at some of these other configurations in another tutorial.